Hello, welcome everyone to another episode of Megan Chitwood Live, powered by BNI. And this time of year is the time of year I love. And we're going to change up the show a little bit because we're going to start off this year with how you can achieve your goals for your business. And I'm going to share with you all the ways you can do, all the things you can do to increase your business by 30% this year. So let's get started. And don't forget, you can always catch our show live every Friday at 11 a.m. Central Time on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. And you can also catch us on Instagram, as well as subscribe on YouTube. And you can come back and get notifications each time for the show. All right. So my favorite time of the year. Why is it my favorite time of the year? Because what we get to do at the beginning of each year, it just feels like a normal time to do it is sort of restart and think about what we want our goals to be and what do we want our accomplishments to be as we go forward. So what I want to share with you today is kind of how do you get started with that? What is the first thing you're going to do? For everyone, BNI members as well as non-BNI members, what I want to do is focus on every bit of the information that we deliver this year is about how do you increase your revenue by 30% in your business. And I will share with you things that you can do both inside of BNI, but outside of BNI as well, so that you can constantly be paying attention. This one we're going to be talking about right now applies to everyone. It applies to absolutely everyone very, very easily. And that is, first, you have to really figure out where you are starting. Okay, what is your starting point? In the book, Good to Great, they talk about confronting the brutal facts and figuring out what your starting point is actually confronting those brutal facts. So it's also a nice time to do that because we're getting ready for accounting, right? We're getting ready for tax season. We should start to be able to really look and see exactly what our revenue was from last year. If we aren't keeping our books complete, we on a real-time basis, we're kind of getting that process started to know what is our starting point. You have to know what your starting point is in order to know where you're going and to have realistic expectations about where you're going as well. So how do we figure out exactly where we are today? So one is just figuring out what was your revenue last year? What was your overall revenue for your business last year? For BNI members as well, I want you to go on to your mobile app. And on the homepage, there is a line that says revenue received. That is the revenue received into your business from BNI over the last 12 months. And then you can also swipe to see the lifetime as well. But the last 12 months is the important part because you're going to not only start looking at the level set of where you are with your revenue of your overall business, but I also want you to look and see what is your revenue from BNI specifically. When I go out and I visit, especially, well, also small business owners, but also when I start talking to people who are in BNI, there's still some minor tweaks that you can really make to make that really effective for you so that you can still grow. Sometimes you feel like, okay, well, I'm just going to maintain. No, you still have room to grow. Everybody has room to grow. We just have to think about everything differently. So look at what your revenue actually is. Second step is figuring out what are those revenue sources. What are those? And you're going to do this in two ways. You're going to look at what are the revenue sources in terms of what's my product or service that's bringing in revenue, but also where are my revenue sources, as in where does that come from? What's the marketing that creates that, and where does that ultimately come from? So that then you can see what are your current strategies that you're actually using. I remember when I first started my business, I didn't have a real strategic plan on how to make that work. I was a business coach, and just getting started really. And it was where is this business going to come from? And I wasn't, like I said, I wasn't strategically looking at where does that come from. I was kind of just like doing a bunch of stuff to see where it came from. So if you can figure out like what are the things, look at each client, where did that client come from? That'll help you start, instead of reactively doing those things and getting lucky, we can start proactively doing more of those things as well. So as you're doing this, again, it's just confronting the brutal facts. There are going to be things that you're doing that aren't actually providing you anything. There are also going to be things that you're doing that are providing a good chunk. Then the question I want you to ask once you've looked at all of that is, if I put more time and effort into that thing that's getting me really great results, can I get even more results? Because sometimes you've maximized the results you have, right? If you're attending every single chamber event available to you, and that is one of the things you're doing as a strategy, the only way you're going to be able to get even more out of that is, can I do something differently when I am at that chamber event? And the answer to that question is usually yes, because I'm going to bet you if you're going to a chamber event, you're meeting people there, but you're probably not strategically following up with people who you could build a reciprocal relationship with to become referral partners. That's one of the best parts about going to a chamber event, right? Everybody goes to a chamber event to sell something, but nobody goes to a chamber event to buy something. So everyone at that chamber event is looking for ways to grow their business. You already know that because that's why they're there. So sitting down with them after the fact to sit down and say, you and I have a business that are reciprocal. You know, we don't do exactly the same thing, but we both do B2B, or we don't do exactly the same thing, but we both sell in the beauty industry. We don't do exactly the same thing, but you sell cosmetics and I sell personal training services. So usually the same person is interested in both things. When you find people like that at these chamber events, I want you to take that card and strategically think about the follow-up that you're going to do in order to make that happen. So you can go to every chamber event and you can say, well, I'm maximizing that. But think about, can I maximize how I follow up with people to start creating some agreements with those people who are looking to grow their businesses as well to become referral partners? That might be a strategy that you can look at as well. We're going to talk more about strategies in the upcoming weeks also, but I want you to start thinking about that. Now, let's say I'm putting $1,000 a month into social media advertising and I'm getting a good amount out of it. You might find that you're making, 300% return on social media advertising. Well, if that's the case, then you want to see, can I do more than 1,000? Can I actually do more? But you've got to make sure that it's actually working before you start dumping that in. Social media is a great example. I am not the expert. We have many, many experts in BNI that are experts in social media. You can go to our website, bnialabama.com, to search social media for our members who do that. So I'm not an expert, but there's also things you want to look at the data to say, did that come into and turn into business that I could actually cultivate? Or if you're not using social media for sales and it's just marketing, am I getting my name out there and building that brand the way that I want to as well? So you want to look at it from both of those perspectives. But then if it's not giving you what you needed and you're investing a good solid amount of money into it, you want to start working with a real professional to help you figure out how to tweak that also. Coming back to the BNI front. You're probably going to all your BNI meetings. The question I want you to ask yourself is, do you have a great relationship with all of the people in your chapter? This is a community of people that, even though you've joined it, doesn't necessarily mean that they're all committed to building your business for you. You still have work to do in building that relationship so that I become committed to really helping you grow your business when I'm in that chapter. The difference between that is, when I say commitment is, am I going to refer you when someone says, hey, do you know of a great person who does promotional items? Or am I proactively searching all the contacts that I have, or working after I sell my own service, I then start saying, hey, do you also need promotional products? Those are proactive activities that I can be doing. But all of that starts on a foundation of relationship, and a relationship that we are committed to really helping each other. So I want you to think about, do I have a really great relationship with the people who are key and strategic for my own business, or do I need to develop that relationship more? How can you determine if you need to develop that relationship more? Looking back on your referrals received, so you can actually see that in a report on your app. When you look back at your referrals received, then you can see who they're coming from. So if you look and you see that every single month Susie sends you a referral, that relationship is very well developed, and Susie's probably very, very proactive. If you see it's spotty and it's hit and miss with someone, that means they probably don't entirely know how to refer you. And in an upcoming show, we will talk about what is all the knowledge somebody needs to know about your business in order to start passing you referrals. We'll talk about the nitty-gritty on what is all that knowledge that I need to know about you in order to start passing you business consistently. So once you've looked at that and said, have I really developed that relationship? Then you know if you can go into that a little bit more, or if you can develop, you have more room to put a little bit more effort into that marketing effort with that particular person. The other thing I want you to think about, especially BNI members, don't just think about your network as only BNI. Your network can constantly grow if you manage it correctly. So if you think about, I almost wish we still had Rolodexes, because Rolodexes forced us to be able to see all of the relationships we actually have in one physical thing, right? Now, and a lot of times us as business people are really, really bad about keeping a database of all of the people that we know, so that we can say, yep, these are all the people I have relationships with. Now, these are relationships beyond the social media relationship. So there are lots of people these are people that you have been in contact with probably in the last 90 days. Let's even give you 6 months. In the last 6 months, who have you been in contact with? That's the group of people that you really want to keep an eye on. So let's say one of our strategies for this year is going to be creating that relationship database that we have. The things I want you to think about is, one, obviously all your BNI members are in there. That's a good start, as all your BNI members are in there, but it's also every other person you meet. It's that person you meet at a chamber event, at an association meeting, that visitor that comes in and visits your chapter, but never actually joins, that person who was in your chapter and then leaves. All of those people are still people that you have relationships with, and you need to continue to actively work as you need to continually work and put deposits into those relationships as well. And I'm going to tell you, real estate agents are some of the best people. I think this is like 101, what they're taught is, who are those 150 people and how do I continuously cultivate those relationships with that 150 people? So that's a good resource for you if you want to chat with your real estate agent to say, hey, how do you keep in touch with former clients? Most of the time they are experts at looking at their broader database of relationships and continuously working that for referrals and so on. So I want you to think about, this will be your homework, all right? I want you to think about creating that database of people that you have relationships with. So just so that you can see it and you can see where it is, you can see who have you talked to who have you talked to in the last 6 months? Who have you had a personal text messaging conversation with in the last 6 months? Who have you had a personal email conversation with in the last 6 months? Those are the people, not necessarily, and of course, yeah, instant messaging. So anyone you've had an instant message relationship with should all go onto that list so that you can see where you're actively putting effort into those relationships. This is all part of figuring out what our starting point is and confronting the brutal facts. If I've reached out to no one and had no personal conversations over the last 6 months, then I've got to, that's a brutal starting place. But at the same time, it's a place that's where I really want to know, because progress is adding 10 people to that list. Progress is adding 20 people to that list. So we just need to know where we are. So our homework, number 1, figure out what your revenue was for last year so that you know what 30% looks like, and set at least 30% as your goal. Is like, Wouldn't that be an amazing year? Second one, figuring out where did all of that business come from, and start thinking about where can I put more effort in. We will talk about that in one of the upcoming shows very, very soon. Then thirdly, I want you to start thinking about, especially if you're thinking about a referral-based business, getting a database, an Excel spreadsheet, whatever you want to use, to get all those people that you've had personal relationship building conversations with in one place over the last 6 months, so that you can kind of see where your starting point is with those relationships. And then for the BNI members, I want you to know what was your revenue received over the last 12 months, so that we can, just within BNI, focus on increasing your business by 30% just in BNI. And then maybe we can get you another 30% outside of BNI as well. All right. So this year, super pumped. I am like, everything that I ever learned about growing business is going to be what we're sharing. Last year, I have a pretty big business now, but last year we grew it by 18% with the help of my amazing, amazing team. So I know how to do this, and we will help you do it as well. So with that, we will see you again next week as we build on how do we improve our business and how do we continue to grow it. And again, our goal is 30% growth this year.